We're back with Steve CONTE, you know, from the Michael Monroe Band, and of course, previously, Company of Wolves, and so much more. But Steve, tell us about this solo stuff, July 4th, and you're now aligned with, of course, Wicked Cool, the little Steven label from the Underground Garage, and all that with Sirius XM. Talk about your collaborations too with Andy Partridge. I go back, I started interviewing Andy back in '79 through the Drums of Wires and Black Sea Days, and
Oh
they
wow.
were incredible. I was up in the Seattle, Vancouver area and heading to LA, and you know, they were so influential. Of course, Dear God was big on MTV and all that. How the hell did you hook up with Andrew Partridge, and tell us about this stuff?
Well, so well, first of all, my relationship with Steven Van Zandt and the label Wicked Cool and the Underground Garage goes back to 2014, I believe. No, it actually goes back to 2005 when I met Steven when I was playing the New York Dolls. We played the Underground Garage New Year's Eve show at Times Square Hard Rock together. Steven came up and jammed with us, and Steven wanted to be involved with producing the first reunion Dolls record, but Johansson decided to go with Jack Douglas because of the history they had together. But Steven still played us on the radio, and then we also did the Underground Garage tour. Well, we did the Underground Garage uh, concert festival at Randall's Island with Bo Diddley and Nancy Sinatra and Iggy and the Stooges and the Strokes and so many bands. It was like 50 bands in a 12-hour day. It was amazing. So I got to know Steven a little bit then, and then we did the tour with the Super Suckers and Chesterfield Kings, where we had Go Go Girls, and it was great. And Steven was very involved in that. So I'd known Steven, for quite a while, and we're both from Jersey. Well, I grew up there. I'm not from there. I'm from upstate New York, but I grew up with his cousins in my town, and we're both Italian. We have lots of connections. So when he heard my record, Steve Conte NYC, back in 2014, he was like, "Who's this? This is." And his wife was playing it around the house, Maureen Van Zandt, who was also in the Sopranos with him. She was his wife, Silvio. Gabriella was her name. Maureen was playing the album, and she said, "That's Steve Conte." And he was like, "What? Who knew?" So he had no idea that I was such a songwriter. And so he made one of those songs, "Okay DJ," the coolest song in the world. And then he said, "Let's do a single." And we did "Gimme Gimme Rockaway" a couple years later. And then he played the crap out of my Bronx Cheer album, and um, I wasn't on the label. Was I on the label? Yes, it was Wicked Cool. Yeah, I did Bronx Cheer, my last album for Wicked Cool, and had a bunch of coolest songs in the world. And now, it was time to do a new one. And so I said, this is the perfect opportunity for me to reach out to my songwriting hero, Andy Partridge, and see if he'll write my next single with me. Now, Andy had been writing songs for other people. I don't know if you heard about his record, My Failed Songwriting Career.
Yeah.
So he's written for all these people that, for one reason or another, the label or whatever, I guess, in the end, didn't want to release the songs that he had written with the artists. So he was like kind of soured on writing for other people. And I'd heard some interviews with him where he was talking about that, and I said, I'm gonna talk him out of this. I'm gonna, because if there was ever a guy, and I've been a fan of XTC since 1982, if there's ever been a guy who would, champion a song co-written by Andy Partridge, it's me. I would never let that song not see the light of day, right? So we had been in touch through producer Steve Lillywhite, who was a friend of mine, and he produced Drums and Wires and Black Sea, and two of my favorite XTC albums. And we had met, Steve and I had met at a party, and we started hanging out. And I was a guest on his radio show in East Village Radio, and I would go play on his show, and I even subbed for him on a DJ gig there when he had to go do something. And so we were talking on Twitter one day, and I had actually um, gotten on Andy's radar a few years before with a solo album, or with an album my brother and I had done called the Contes. Bleed Together was the name of the album. And we had a mutual friend who was building guitars for him, for Andy. And when I heard that my friend Dennis Fano, who has a company called Novo Guitars now, was building guitars for Andy, I said, "Oh, you got to give him this record that me and my brother have done. I think he'll really like it." And he did, but he didn't like call me up gushing about it or anything. But I got the word from Dennis that, "Oh, Andy really liked your record, blah blah blah." So filed that away in the back of my head, and then through Lily White, we were chatting on Twitter one day, and the subject of Partridge came up, and he said, "Well, Andy's on Twitter right now. We can bring him in this conversation." And we started chatting, the three of us, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm chatting with Andy Partridge. I can't believe it." And he was like, "You were in the New York Dolls." He was like, "Oh my God, I wanted to be in the New York Dolls when I was 15, and I sent David Johansen a letter and told him how much I wanted to be in the band. I guess taking over for Thunders, and so like we kind of got along on that, footing. And then he heard that I was coming to play in Swindon with Michael Monroe and Alice Cooper, and he said, "I hear you're going to be in my shithole town. I'll buy you lunch." And I was like, "Andy Partridge is going to buy me lunch? Wow!" So we hung out all day that day, and we didn't jam. We had one guitar. We passed the guitar back and forth between us. We just got along really well. We had lots of laughs, and I thought, this is good. And we emailed each other every once in a while, and then so I thought this is the time for me to ask Andy about writing a song with me. And so he was deep into this my failed songwriting career thing, and he was like, "Well, Steve, I sort of swore off writing with other people, but it's not a no." So I was like, "Okay." So I was like, I have to impress him with something. So I made this really great demo that I thought, he'll hear this and he'll want to write it with me. It was very Beatles XTC production, and I thought he'd love it, but when he emailed me back, he was like, "I don't know what I could add to this, Steve. It's pretty much done." But he says, "Why don't we start something from scratch? Let's do a Zoom." And I went, "Yes." And we set up a Zoom, and we had like a 2-hour Zoom. We wrote 4 songs together, and then we finished them off at various stages. I would take them back and I would demo them up and send him my demo, and he'd say, "This needs a stronger melody," or "That word's not right," or whatever. And we came up with the initial ideas together. A lot of the ideas came from him, a couple came from me, and I've finished them off to fit my style, which we're coming from a lot of the same place. We both love the Beatles, and we both love the Monkees, so those were our sort of common ground. And Captain Beefheart, and he likes a lot of really avant-garde stuff too, which I like, but I'm not influenced to write songs like that. So yeah, so we did 4 songs, and then I played them for little Steven, and Steven's very busy. You can't really tell sometimes whether he's liking something or whether he's doesn't have the time to really listen. So I wasn't getting like super enthusiastic, yeah, this is great. So Stephen might have very well liked it, but I, was hoping for something a little more, you know, um, overwhelming. Like, yeah, this is great. Um, but I took that to mean that we needed to write more songs. So I said to Andy, yeah, I played them for Steven, and not sure that we got one yet. So, and he's like, "You want to write more?" I said, "Of course." So we set up another 2-hour Zoom. We wrote 4 more songs, and this one, Steven really, I think he was probably more able to listen at that time, and he loved "4th of July" and a couple of the other songs, and so that became the first single, "4th of July," the one that's out there right now.
Well, tell us about how these infamous Zoom calls with Andy Partridge work. Somebody throws out an idea and you just start volleying it back and forth. How does it
Yeah,
typically go?
yeah. He came. We both came to the first Zoom session with one idea each. We just, we didn't even speak about it, but I knew I had to come there with something. So I had my song, and he had his song. He said, or I song idea, right? They weren't completed songs by any stretch. He said, I was thinking of something like this, and he played me the chords, and he said it's kind of a Sid Barrett kind of thing, and I liked it, and we went with it, um, back and forth. You can't really play together on Zoom because you're out of sync because of the time difference and whatever it is that the internet does. You play a couple of chords, and before you know it, you're not together. So he would play it, and then I would play, and we'd go back and forth. How about this? How about this? And yeah, we came up with 4 ideas that way, and then I would go away, and we'd have enough for at least a verse and a chorus. If we had one verse and one chorus, that was a start, and I'd go away, and then I'd put a drum beat to it, and I'd put the 2 verse. I'd make enough music for one verse, one chorus, and then another verse, another chorus, and then I'd write the bridge myself and come back to a solo or a chorus, and that's it. So I did that for the first couple of songs, and then I'd play it to him, and he'd have his suggestions, and maybe I don't know how many times bouncing the demo back and forth before we said, okay, this one's done. But it was a process, and a really great experience. Unlike any other, it's like for me, it'd be like if you're a Beatles fan and you're writing with Paul McCartney. Well, to me, Andy Partridge is on that level. He's as good as a Beatle, you know, and he loves the Beatles and Brian Wilson, and so yeah, it was a great experience, and we did that over the course of the 5. So we have 5 songs together on this album, and then I have 5 solo songs. So it's basically half and half this album, half Partridge and half Conte Partridge, and then the other half is all Conte
Well,
songs.
in celebration of Independence Day, of course, want everybody to go stream and check out July 4th. And when can we expect the album, Steve?
The title of the song is "4th of July," and it's spelled out. It's not with it's not with the number.
FOURTH.
Yeah, exactly. Um, that's a really good question. When can we expect the album? 2024 for sure. What month? I don't know. I have the other 9 songs recorded and mixed. I'm doing some final tweaks on the mixing, and then I'll go to mastering, and I'm still working on artwork, and I don't have a title for the album yet, but I'm hoping to have another single out in the fall, and then the album in hopefully spring 2024. Oh,
Well,
and
we're certainly
there's a
excited to
video.
spread the word.
Oh, thank you. And there's a video for 4th of July as well. It came out, the song came out on July 1st, I think, or June 30th, the song came out. And then the video came out on the 4th of July.
Now,
And
obviously, that's a big day for a lot of people. But what inspired you to write a song called Fourth of July?
well, I had had this hook, the chorus, for years, decades maybe, since the 90s, I think. Um, and I have a guitar here somewhere, but I won't bore you with trying to go get it and play the song for you. But 4th of July, 4th of July, da-na-na-na, so I had that, and I just didn't have a verse that I liked. So I brought that to Andy, and he knew immediately where to go for the verse musically. And he started singing lines like, I'm liberated, thinking about the 4th of July. But, I said, I don't want to make this, about Independence Day and about, patriotic stuff and the American flag and America. I want to make it about, the fireworks that fly in a relationship. And so, it's basically, it's a love song, 4th of July, about the sparks that fly.
Well,
So,
fantastic. Yeah, like I say, I go way back with XTC. I was working in radio in the late '70s in that Vancouver, Seattle area, and they were awesome coming through, making plans for Nigel, Life Begins at the Hop, all that stuff. So to hear that mixed with you and your pedigree, super, super exciting. So we can't wait to spread the word on the full album when that comes out. Of course, we'll talk again then and any other singles in the meantime. And please go see our guest, Steve Conte, with the great Michael Monroe Band out there slaying them all summer at the European festivals. And we pray to bring them back stateside on this next album. Hopefully, the musical gods will bless us with a trip to at least the coasts and see you guys rock North America. I know it means a lot to you being from America, but I know with your wife being European and your band being European, it's you probably got a split passport these days with all the stamps, and at least your home base in New York is as close to Europe as you can get, still being here in mainland North America. Steve,
whatever.
always a pleasure, man.
Thank you. And if you have time to spin the new song on the show here
That we
or
will.
the video or whatever, and
Links to the video below.
yeah,
And
and I hope to get back to playing North America myself as my solo band. I haven't played since COVID really, so the COVID restrictions in the States were a lot stricter, I guess, than Europe. We started playing again last summer with Michael, and yeah, so I'm putting a new band together now, and hopefully I'll be out with a new lineup for the Steve Conte band this year to play 4th of July and other songs from Bronx Cheer, which really didn't get a proper tour because of COVID, because that came out in fall of 2021, which
well, we certainly look forward to that and spreading the news when we have dates for your band. Steve, best of luck on the shows this summer with Michael. And like I say, always a pleasure, man. Can't wait to speak to you again soon down the road.
Thank you, man. I'll see you next time. Cheers, everybody.